Well, hey there, guys. I'm Axel the Beast of ZeldaEngine.net, and this is a topic. This is not really going to be one of my videos where I like make this really strong point, really think it out, really argue a static point. This is more just some thoughts I had, and it has to do with future Zelda games, and I'll get to it in a minute. But first, I want to go over stuff I've said recently that's almost in conflict with it, because I think that this is an opinion I used to have that I'm sort of returning to a bit. That I think I've kind of complained about over the last few games. I've complained a lot about the writing quality and the continuity of the series. And to you guys, it probably looks something like, but I really think that if you compare Zelda to like other stories or other like even books or even children's books from like really well written ones from really old times, like Alice in Wonderland or The Hobbit, which are children's books, Zelda's just not up to snuff. There's a significant drop in the quality of the writing and the quality of the storytelling. Not that, like we're expecting literature, but some series do actually have great storytelling, and for a series that tends to have a notable storyline that people talk about a lot, Zelda doesn't really, like, go crazy on it. It doesn't actually make it that well written. It's decently written. It's not bad, but it's not that great either. It's not an amazing plot. It's not amazing. Well, it's usually a pretty good concept, but it's never that well told. It's decently told. It's sufficiently told. And the continuity tends to be really bad, where the links between the stories don't make any sense, or they're just not defined, and they don't make any effort to define them, which is fine sometimes, but it really pissed me off with Skyward Sword, because, it's the freaking prequel to the whole series, and they didn't make any effort to connect it seriously to the rest of the series. They connect it minorly, kind of like the same thing. They have sufficient storytelling to get their idea across, but they don't really put a lot of effort into it. Skyward Sword did the best on this probably with the quality of its dialogue, but aside from that, the storytelling didn't necessarily transcend what we're familiar with a lot, especially on the continuity department. And of course, there's also that whole thing where I was like, Dark Tribe, Dark Tribe, Dark Tribe, Dark Tribe, Dark Tribe. And as we all know, that there were no significant Dark Tribe references in Skyward Sword, so that continuity issue annoys me, especially in that. Not necessarily because my theory explicitly was not shown, but because they didn't show continuity with major elements of the series, which I consider the Dark Tribe to be, but it didn't necessarily need to be the Dark Tribe, but they didn't do that anywhere. So, yeah. But, however, waiting for the new Zelda games, Zelda Wii U and Zelda 3DS, I'm reminded of an opinion and a mindset that I had like 3 years ago when I first became a Zelda fan, because believe it or not, that was around when I actually became a fan of the series, like a major fan, because that's when I joined Zelda Dungeon, or I joined Zelda Dungeon because of that. Before that, I was just a guy who liked Zelda. I wouldn't have considered myself a major fan of the series, but I am now, and that was at that point. I didn't take the timeline seriously at all. Maybe I still don't. But, well, yeah, I do more now. Bottom line is, I thought the timeline was stupid. I didn't think there were solid connections between all the games at all. I didn't think there was any reason to try to connect them. This was long before Hyrule Historia came out. And, I just felt the games in the series were standalone. They were their own worlds. They weren't supposed to connect perfectly. And when the Angry Video Game Nerd more or less said the same thing in his Chronologically Confused About Zelda video, I like cheered. I like, ah! I think that to some degree, I don't think I realized this, but I think, yeah, it is still technically true about the series. The games might connect timeline-wise, even with the Hyrule Historia, but they're really not trying to connect to make this long, continual storyline. They're trying to create these unique worlds. They're uniquely driven experiences with their own gameplay. A lot of work put into the gameplay, and the world is built around that. So they have these unique experiences, and they're standalone tales where you don't need to worry about the connections, even though they exist. So, I think that I'm rethinking this a bit, that I think I'm just mostly just eager to see what the new game is going to be, because that's really the thing I'm most excited about with Zelda Wii U and Zelda 3DS. I just kind of want to see what they're doing with it. I want to see the world. I want to see what their ideas are. And I'm not thinking as much about all the other elements, except maybe seeing some of the things I liked in Skyward Sword's gameplay, but that's about it. It's the world that I want to see. And that surprised me when I was comparing this to my previous thoughts. And I also want to point out that these two ideas are not mutually exclusive, or at least I don't feel they are. I don't see why you can't do some world building and do some continuity while still, and especially also get really quality writing in there, because that's not mutually exclusive to anything, except sucking. And I'm sorry, I keep almost saying something and then going back. Uh, because why would that conflict with, trying to have the story stand alone? I mean, you can make, the writing can be really good, and, you still have a standalone story. That's not an issue. Um, the continuity can still be there too, because you can still establish connections, but make them mysterious, make them a little vague, but they're still solid if you're actually paying attention, actually looking at it, and actually connecting things. That's fine. That would be still very enjoyable to a lot of Zelda fans. That's what they do now. Just talking about doing more of it, so you can actually paint a real picture of what's going on. Uh, but meanwhile, the storyline is mostly self-contained, and it doesn't really need the other game, so it's still building its own tale, its own world, and the style in the world can still be completely unique, and it can preserve both styles. So I think it can do both, but I do agree that Zelda needs to stay as it is, where the stories are standalone. I just don't think that it needs to mean there's no connection, or not more connection. But, yeah, so those are my thoughts, just kind of rambling on this topic. I hope it was interesting. Be sure to tell me what you guys think, though, because I know that these are two conflicting ideas with the Zelda series at a lot of the time. Having, like, oh, I gotta make it like a Hollywood, make it like a good professional, like Call of Duty, or a Fable with the story, I don't know what that was. But also having it like it is, where it's just an interesting experience. So, tell me what your thoughts are. Which do you think is better? Do you think they can combine like I do? Or do you think I'm nuts? And I'll see you guys later.